Hello and welcome to In the Court of the Wenton Knave. It's 1983 and King Crimson didn't do any albums in 1983. That's interesting. At time of recording, I don't have Club 42. It has been announced, it has been pre-ordered. I don't have it. I hope it's going to arrive before we get to it. So I'll have to wait and see. You'll know when you watch this video whether that happened or not. But today, this is the other group sessions, not the Bearsville sessions. I think the other one's a Bearsville, I think that's right. This is the Champaigne Urbana sessions. Champaigne. I say Champaigne. They reconvened in '83 to make the next album. They failed to make the next album. But you know, they wrote Industry, they wrote Dig Me. Both are awesome. There is an early Sleepless somewhere as well. They rehearsed Schizoid Man. I don't know if that was this one or whether that was the next one or whether that was just the tour rehearsals. It was rehearsed in the 80s but not played. Maybe it'll be on Club 42. I don't know. What is clear about this is not some songs or some, work in progress pieces of music really. It's some jams, really, some cool stuff, a bit of improvisation, a bit of jamming. But there's a fair amount of it. I mean, you've got 14 tracks of stuff here, which is pretty cool. It has to be said, the feel of Three of a Perfect Pair is on this album. This doesn't feel like Beat or Discipline, it feels like Three of a Perfect Pair. Whether that's a technological thing, because I know Three of a Perfect Pair was the first digital recording, actually. I think that's why it kind of sounds wimpy compared to some of the other recordings, because it was very early digital. That might be something to do with it, but I think compositionally as well, so that stylistically they'd already got there. It's one of those King Crimson things that, that whatever they do, the album's always going to come out, it's always going to sound like that regardless. I mean, I think Construction of Light is a similar kind of thing. Had they done it in '97, I think it would probably be in the same album. But you can look at it as like a snapshot of, the different ways it could have gone, maybe. Track 1 is San Francisco. It's quite heavy, maybe surprisingly. It reminds me a bit of Doom, actually. So consequently, not a million miles from kind of Master of Puppets, or the intro from Master of Puppets, which is after this. And there's some great living bow stuff going on. Track 2 is called Tony Bass Riff, which is an original name. Pretty banal, jangly thrashing, really. But then some Gamelan stuff comes in, which I think is Fripp & Levin. It might be Fripp & Levin, I think, maybe. So that's quite interesting. Track 3 is sequenced, using an arpeggiator thing, with some cool stuff on top. That's the kind of thing they were looking at that point, I think, in the Three of a Perfect Pair era. That it's not really on the album, but which is interesting, because in a way that's a step back to a 70s thing, really. But it's that question, isn't it? Where do you go with the Gamelan thing and the elephant talk thing and that, and the wordplay? Where does that go next? It doesn't really go anywhere next, it just repeats. But some nice 80s Frippisms. Track 4 is Steinberger Melody. Nice and subdued tonal stuff, that kind of thing. And it's a contrast to Track 3, so that works quite well. Track 5 is Industry, but it's called Fragmented, which is a different way of saying fractured, in a way. But it all sings nicely, actually. Those 3 tracks kind of fit together, so that's quite nice. Track 6 is called Not One of Those. It's a mad funky thing, and I think that's where the title comes from, not one of those ones. So that's pretty cool. Track 7 is Z, or ZZZZ, with an apostrophe, so it belongs to the Zs. That's kind of a riffy version of a similar theme in Not One of Those. It's actually very close to a bit of Neurotica, actually, those 2 tracks. So that's interesting. Track 8 is Real 3 Jam. World music, rhythm, that kind of thing, with some nice sustain kind of stuff going on. I think it might be Baloo playing that, doing kind of a frippism. For some reason it makes me think it's Baloo. It might be on a fretless guitar, actually. We know they used a fretless guitar on Three of a Perfect Pair, so it's certainly not out of the question. And right at the end, Tony Levin sings a little bit of something. I'm not quite sure what happened there. That's quite funny. Track 9 is Robert and Bill. Starts with an Indiscipline type drum solo. It's an interesting thing to have on a writing session. And then you've got some Fripp cross-picking, Larks type stuff, with Bill kind of following it-ish, which is of course embryonic Larks 3, or the intro to Larks 3. Track 10, Say No. Some world music jamming. Bit of a different feel, really. It's nice and it's plinky. Not very Crimson though. Not something they pursued. Track 11, Roberts Ballad. Some nice playing over some arpeggios. He's written some chords and played arpeggios a bit. But there's some nice stuff played on the stick, I think. And then Bill comes in. It's really good when Bill comes in. That's a really cool bit. Makes me think of the League of Crafty Guitarists, actually. It's that kind of thing. Don't think anything here is new standard tuning. I don't think that's happened until we get to actually Three of a Perfect Pair sessions, I think. Track 12 is Heat in the Jungle, which of course was the anagram of Thelahun Jinjit. It is kind of Thelahun Jinjit, the evil version, or backwards or something, the bass riff. So it's Tony Levin doing it. And I think Adrian Looped plays some cool stuff at the top of it. I mean, maybe these things that sound like old stuff, maybe it's not intentional. Maybe they play these things and they think, oh yeah, we've done that, and that's why it wasn't pursued. Towards the end, I think it's Baloo playing it. Maybe it isn't, but it's the harmonics from the Lark's 1 intro, interestingly. It does sound like Adrian Ballou. Maybe it isn't, maybe it's Fripp, but still, interesting. Track 13 is Grace Jones. No idea where the title came from. Bill's doing some sort of whoosh synth effect thing, and you've got Fripp doing some sustained stuff, but kind of riffy, and some lyrical stuff as well. And finally, track 14, Adrian Looped. Very, very short bit of sustained stuff just to close off the album. Yeah, so it's really nice, really interesting. Worth a punt. See you next week for 3 of a Perfect Pair.